Hi, welcome to Scofield Farm. I'm Carice. We live in Northern California, just outside the second sunniest city in the US. We are Zone 9B. We love to garden, we raise chickens, and we keep bees on our 3.5-acre property. And I love it. We've had this place for 4 years. We've actually lived here for 3.5. We took about 6 months to do some renovations to make the house livable for our family and to set up some infrastructure on the property. And we absolutely are living part of what was a dream for me, to be able to raise my kids on some property, doing farm chores, taking care of animals, raising their own food. And I just absolutely love it. I am going to do a question answer type of video today. I asked some people on Instagram if they would give me some ideas of questions. And so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to answer a few things. I want to remind you before I start, if you would hit the like button for me, that helps me a lot. That actually helps with YouTube showing our videos to people who they might find them helpful or interesting. And also, if you found us and you enjoy the content today or any of our other videos, I would love if you would subscribe and you would be able to be updated when we post. So let's get started. Okay, I've got a list of questions right here, and I'm gonna have to be careful not to start weeding different things in the path because I am like an obsessive compulsive weeder. All right, so here's some questions. Let's get started. Number one, how much time do you spend every day in the garden? Well, that really varies. I find the garden to be a place where I can so easily lose track of time. So if I go out there, maybe with the intention of spending just a couple minutes to pick some chamomile for tea, or some strawberries to freeze, or maybe a couple cucumbers for lunch, I lose track of time completely. I would say I try to go out to the garden every day unless it is absolutely freezing and pouring. That does happen in our winters. And by freezing, I guess I would have to clarify that our lows are not as low as a lot of you guys up in more northern climates. But for me, it feels pretty cold. I don't love to be wet. I appreciate rain for what it does for our plants, but I'd rather be inside when it's raining. And if it's blistering hot, I try to go in the evenings, like right around this time. It's very pleasant here in the evenings, even if the days are hot. So I would say, goodness, I try to go every day. I can spend anywhere from maybe a quick half hour, watering a couple things that aren't on drip, and checking on plants and pruning things up, pulling a few weeds, harvesting a few veggies, to being out there for 3 to 4 hours some mornings because I have some planting to do or some big harvesting, or I really want to get things dialed in and the things not on drip water deeply, things really harvested and pruned up well, put back into shape. So yeah, that would be maybe a range from a half hour to 4 hours, just a bit depending on the day and what tasks need to be done. But I find that I really, really do better with my mental health and my emotional well-being when I have spent time outside, especially in the garden. It is so good for me. So even if I am really in a mood or a funk or weather's bad, I don't feel like it, I try to get out there for at least 5 minutes. And 5 minutes never actually is 5 minutes. It's always longer. Next question. Feeding the soil and plants. How often do you do it? Bi-weekly? ? What do you use? Well, that is a great question. I don't really do a lot of fertilizer kind of stuff to feed plants. We garden organically, and not just organically. We actually garden, I would say, more like regenerative farming. And I love like the back to Eden method, no dig methods. We rely heavily on compost. We do make our own compost, and I'd love to go over how we do it someday. We feed every time I plant, so I would say pretty much twice a year. Our fall and spring planting, I do put down a layer of compost in a bed. We mulch primarily with aged wood chips, which as they break down, they also feed the soil. If I'm going to use something to feed my soil, if I am noticing plants maybe need a little boost, I will feed with the Alaskan fish emulsion. It's an organic, really smelly concentrate liquid. I water it down. It says on the bottle how much the ratio to use of water. And I will actually spray it on the plants or even as a foliar spray or right on the soil. And that is a really good balanced, almost like if you think of whole foods for our body, it's more like a whole foods for the soil method of adding some nutrients, because it is, the air conditioner is going to go on, you're going to hear that in the background, but it's a more holistic way of feeding your soil. Compost is the same way. Sometimes I will often I put worm castings in a hole when I am planting. So that's one way of feeding. And once in a while, if I see something that's looking kind of yellowed or very, very slow to grow, I will add some blood meal. Blood meal is very high in nitrogen. I do not do it a lot. I have used it on my tomatoes a few times. I have used it on my peppers, and I have used it on my citrus trees. I do not use it on everything, but when I saw that they were kind of having that yellow look, sometimes that can show they need more nitrogen. So that's my go-to. I really don't use a lot of stuff. There's probably a lot of great products out there, but I try to focus on good soil health. And so part of those methods, like Back to Eden method, I do a lot of square foot gardening method, no dig method, more regenerative farming, permaculture, focuses more on the soil than on feeding plants. I do also, I'll cut up like old bean plants or pea plants as long as they're not diseased or full of pests, and I'll just kind of chop and drop them on the soil so that those green leaves and vines can also help feed the soil of the different beds I put them in. Okay, that was kind of long. Okay, next one. I'll try to go faster on some of these. What is your favorite veggie to grow? I am terrible at favorites. I would say, okay, let me do warm season or cool season. Warm season, it would probably be, honestly, peppers and tomatoes and the different herbs I can do for teas. So that's not just one, but that's three. And I really love everything. I also really, really love strawberries. Growing strawberries is like my favorite garden snack. I just went out there tonight. I was in a bad mood. I went to the garden and I picked strawberries and cherry tomatoes, and it actually lifted my mood a ton. I love them so much. Cool weather favorites would be lettuce. I love broccoli from the garden. And what else of cool weather? Kale. I love kale. And I love other things too, but that's the ones that come off my top of my head. Okay. Do your kids ever complain about garden chores? Yes. They're kids. Of course they do. Especially I'll have them move things, lift things, get wheelbarrows of compost for me set up, get a wheelbarrow of wood chips set up for me, drag a hose, hook it up. Sometimes I'll have them like water the potato bed that is not irrigated. And especially if it's really, really hot out, or if they have something else they were wanting to do at that moment, they will complain like anybody else. But the kids are pretty good. They have a pretty good attitude about the food, because they know when they're in the garden, they have a free-for-all of snacking on anything they pick. And so that helps. Next, why is your second oldest so cool? Gee, I wonder who asked that question. I would say he's so cool because he's so much like his mama. And because he loves to eat my cherry tomatoes. Okay, next one. How do I get connected to my local gardening community? That is a really good question. Well, for here where we are, there is a Facebook group for our Shasta County, and I have met a lot of gardeners that way, had a lot of conversations. I've had people message me asking or advice, or what kind of things I enjoy to grow. And I've gone and visited other people's gardens. I have showed local people my garden, and a lot of those connections were actually made off that Facebook group. So I don't know if your Facebook has a group for your area, but that's one way to meet people. I have sold veggie starts to local gardeners, and I've got to meet a lot of local gardeners that way and form relationships and swap seeds and stories, and it's been a really positive experience just simply by posting in that local Facebook group that I had extra starts to sell. So there's lots of ways to connect with different gardeners, but I would start, even if you have any type of social media, asking if anybody is in your area, in your county, and seeing who you can swap stories with, because it's so great to talk to someone local because they actually are dealing with the same pests, same climate, whether it's the hot or the cold or whatever, they really know your area. And even if they're new or they're very, very seasoned, they are experiencing the same type of things. Next, what is your favorite flower to grow? Oh gosh. Well, it would look like sunflowers were my favorite flower to grow. Are they my favorite flower to grow? I love them. I'm looking around at some of my flowers. What are my favorite? These are pretty. I think these are Sweet William. This is the first year they've done well for me. The poppies were really, really fun this year. I love California poppies, and I planted red corn poppies that finally did well. I love hydrangeas. What else? I really love Sweet Alyssum, and I did the Royal Carpet purple one, and those have been getting me all excited. Zinnia are probably my favorite to make bouquets with. I like to gift bouquets in mason jars to people, and it's just like one of my favorite things to do is just to grow a lot of flowers to make bouquets. So I love flowers. I don't know if I have just one, but I really love flowers, and the more that I can add, the better. Honestly, the more I add, the better. Okay, what is next? What is your favorite thing to grow? So we had favorite flower, favorite veggie, favorite thing. Whew, this could mean a lot. I am really excited about growing citrus. I love citrus. I'm actually sitting right where I can see 8 citrus trees in the ground. We have, they're all mandarin. We have a lemon in the ground. We have, I think, 8 citrus trees in pots, if I'm counting right, a couple mandarins, a grapefruit, a lime, another Meyer lemon, 2 different oranges, and I can't remember. I think there might be one more. But I really love citrus. I'm very excited about citrus. My kids eat a ton of citrus. So that is something I'm really excited about growing. And I also love flowers, and I love anything colorful. If I could grow a veggie in a specific color, or I could grow it in its normal color, I'm going to pick the exciting color and maybe also do the normal color. But I like when I see things that are bright and cheery and happy. Okay. Next, why did you get bees? Well, I got them because I wanted to ensure my garden and my fruit trees had pollinators. That is why. I am very, very excited about the honey, but the honey was not the primary reason. And even the beekeeping part, I've grown to love, and I'm fascinated to watch them, and I love every time we get in the hive. It's actually really exciting to me, and it's not like an adrenaline rush. Our charter school teacher we work with, he thought that high risk type behavior people are the ones that keep bees, but I actually don't think it's a high adrenaline thing at all. I think it's very calming and peaceful and almost contemplative to work bees. So maybe those kind of people get bees to bring them peace and calm. And I've grown to love working the bees. We're about to harvest honey for our second time. We just purchased our first honey spinner, so that is going to actually extract more and be faster. It is manual, but we're going to hook a drill up to it as a life hack. but I got them primarily to have local pollinators and to see them in my garden and on my fruit trees. Next, what tomato or peppers would you recommend starting with? Ooh, this is a good question. Okay, sun gold cherry tomatoes. I would start with sun gold cherry tomatoes and Barry's crazy cherry tomatoes because they are very fruitful. My kids love, love, love both of them, and they're both very easy to grow. For bigger tomatoes, I would recommend either Roma, La Roma, or Martino's Roma. Those have been very productive for me. Those have been very steady this year, and I will keep them in my garden. And for heirloom, I would say Cherokee Purple, Amana Orange. Oh, what else? There's just so many I like. Oh, I'm like thinking in my head. Kellogg's Breakfast is good. Oh, Black Krim is actually my favorite for flavor. Very favorite. But almost anything orange or purple are the types of heirlooms I really like. Peppers. I would for sure grow shishitos. I would for sure grow Jimmy Nardello. So those are both like mild and sweet. I would grow Sun Bright bell peppers. Those are really, really good. They turn a nice yellow and they're large when they grow. They're really big. For spicy, I would for sure grow Thai Dragon. We do that for hot sauce. Sugar Rush Peach is my favorite pepper just to like eat in eggs. We make a hot sauce with it. I put it on like everything. It's a really good pepper. And what other one? Anaheim. Anaheim, it seems like kind of a normal one, but we roast them and I dice them and put them in 4-ounce little baggies in the freezer because we love diced green chilies and I use those a ton. And they're really productive peppers. So I always get a lot of Anaheim on any plants I do. And I think I grow, I have a couple pepper videos, but I think I grow like 35 varieties. And I have like another 15 I want to try next year. So there's a lot of peppers. We could talk peppers all night long. Okay, any other questions here? Oh, now the air conditioner chooses to be quiet. And as I'm talking to you with the beautiful sunset, I'm seeing bats fly back and forth and I'm getting a little distracted watching them. So if I'm looking away, it's because I'm watching bats. 2 more questions I got off Facebook. One was composting and how do you do it? Well, we have a super simple method, and honestly, my 15-year-old is compost king. I should have him do a video for you guys about composting because I basically handed the baton to him because he did a ton of research and he has got the muscles to turn it over for me with a pitchfork regularly. We just made 3 bins and they're pretty close to my garden, which is nice because it's easy to put stuff into them. And we will have one that we're currently filling, one that we're currently let process and it's doing its thing, and then we have one ideally that is finished and ready to use. We add our chicken bedding and chicken manure to it. We add leaves from trees in the fall. We add spent plants from the garden that are not diseased or pest ridden. Things from inside. We actually have this bin under one of our sinks and it has a plastic bag in it, and I will put old toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, shredded paper, newspaper, any of that kind of stuff. And then we'll layer that as our browns with different waste from the kitchen, whether it's coffee grounds, tea bags, old herbs that I used for tea, parts of different veggies that we'll alternate between putting them in there or feeding veggie scraps to the chickens, eggshells, banana peels, all sorts of things. And I hear a lizard too. Sorry, I got a little spooked. But we'll do that and I'll layer it with my like shredded paper and my toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls, layer it with the greens, so browns, greens, and when that's full, we go dump it into one of those 3 piles that we have by the garden. We'll put it like in the middle, we'll kind of bury it so that critters don't get it. And that will help build our pile. We also have a thermometer for my compost pile that my kids got me for my birthday one year, I think. And we have that to keep track of the temperature. As I said, my son does this. I should really do an interview video with him. And when I have the hose, if I'm going to direct water something with a hose in the garden and the hose is too hot, I will actually spray the compost piles with the hose until it cools down. So we do water our piles in the summer because we're very dry. It does not get any rain. And then we actually will cover them with either cardboard or a tarp in the winter if it's raining a lot to keep it from getting too soggy. So we kind of balance that, and we turn it every once in a while. He at one point was turning it like every other day, but he's slowed down to more like once a week right now. So that's kind of, oh, we also add wood chips to it. We have big piles of wood chips we got from chipdrop.com and local utility tree cutting services. So we also add that into it. We add a lot of stuff. So that's my compost, just very simple overview method. And another question was, how do you grow your garlic so large? Okay, so what you do, first of all, is you take the largest clove that you have, and when you plant them 4 inches deep, and you space them 4 to 6 inches apart. And I like to do like checkerboard style, so I'll do a row here, and then the row back here is like in between, and it's like checkerboard, you know? And then, let's see, I mulch it. So I put like wood chips down. I have done straw before. I felt like wood chips wasn't as messy for garlic. And I might feed it once in a while. I don't feed it a lot. If I do, it will maybe be twice in the entire growing time. It will be fish emulsion. And then I don't really water it in the winter unless we aren't getting rain. And then it is on drip in the summer. And it grows the most at kind of the end, right before it's ready. That's when it really does start to bulb up. And then I let it dry out, like I don't water it, for like a week or so before I harvest. And I think at that point it also kind of bulbs up a little bit more. And the best time to harvest garlic is when half of the leaves have died back. So that would be, usually it's like 9 to 11 leaves, and so that'd be like 5 leaves that are still green. And then that's when you know that it's like done growing and it's the biggest it's gonna be. And then of those, I save the biggest heads to plant again. And of those biggest heads, I'll plant the biggest cloves. And so each year I feel like I'm improving on the size of my garlic every year. Now, weather does have to do with it. And I feel like my hardneck wasn't as big this year as some years, but it also was weird weather for us. So that is what I do for garlic. I am losing the light, so I'm going to wrap this up. Hopefully you enjoyed this question answer. If you have other questions, how about you put them in the comments, and I will do another one of these soon. It'll be really fun, and I do like the idea of interviewing my son about compost. Thank you for joining me. Look at the beautiful sunset. It is so pretty. I love where I live. It's beautiful. I will see you soon. Please subscribe. If you don't, I would love to have you for our homesteading journey. And maybe next time someone will ask me something about chickens or my puppy dog. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.